World Rider, the podcast edition.
Podcasting. Who would have ever thought?
Okay, welcome to a new edition to the World Rider podcast. This is just going to be a really quick update. Not going to bring a full interview in here. I may share a few snippets of some conversations I've had, but I think it was important to get a new podcast out. I'm currently in Slovenia, and I'm recording this deep into the cellars of Movia. It's a winery in the Brda region. This is really I'm almost straddling Italy at this point. If I step up to the terrace level of the winery, I would be looking maybe 100 meters across some beautiful vineyards, and I'd be looking at Italy. I'm an hour from Venice, to give you an idea. A lot of people probably can't find Slovenia on a map, but this is the most northern country than the former Yugoslavia, and to date it's also the first country to declare independence and also the first country to be welcomed into the EU or the European Union. But I thought I'd just give some quick updates on what I've been doing. Obviously, I started this journey in mid-July in Athens, Greece, where I picked up my motorcycle, and since then I've ridden through the Peloponnese, and a lot of this stuff is on the blog, but what's not on the blog at this point is everything from Montenegro through here in Slovenia. And it takes just a little bit of time to go ahead and write these experiences, kind of digest them into something kind of entertaining, and also to go through the thousands of photographs I take and find the ones that kind of complement that story. So I hope you are tuning into the blog, because you really do get a sense of people I meet, places I go, and certainly some interesting stories. And the photography, I try to at least give it some entertainment, and there's video content as well. But anyway, moving back, just to give you up to date. So Peloponnese, Greece, then up the Adriatic coast. I was in Lefkada, as you know, and then to Yanina, which is in the Ibrus province, which is close northwestern province of Greece. Crossed into Albania. A lot of the Albania content is on the blog right now. Check that out, because I was really blown away by Albania. The hospitality, the people, and definitely the food and the wine. A couple cool videos as well, even some riding footage with a little bit of narrative. So get over to the blog if you haven't seen that. And then I crossed into Montenegro, and Montenegro is probably maybe other than Kosovo, is probably the smallest little country here, but for the smallest country, they've actually got the largest vineyard in a single place, the largest vineyard by a place called Plantage, and I'll be writing about that pretty soon. And from there, I continued my journey into Bosnia and Herzegovina, and wonderful food, wonderful culture there, really dramatic history in Sarajevo and Mostar. And then from there, I crossed in the southern part into the southern part of Croatia. And it's interesting, Croatia, as you look at the EU license plates as you go, I always like to try to get an idea of, like here in Slovenia, it's SLO. For my friends in San Luis Obispo, you've got another slow right here, Slovenia. But, you know, Croatia, you would think, okay, it begins with a C, right? Wrong. Just like Germany is D for Deutschland, here actually there in Croatia, it's HR. Really kind of threw me for a loop until I figured it out crossing into the border. I'd seen some cars with HR in Bosnia, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I guess they're from Hungary, you know? But no, HR is the initials for Croatia, and I believe for their domain as well, for their top-level domains. Anyway, Croatia, terrible experience in Croatia. I'm going to write about this. It's sad for me to tell you right now, but you need to understand that I've traveled now. I think this is the 65th country in Slovenia that dock my 650, my 2005 BMW F650 GS Dakar has been to. Well, hard and tough places through Africa, South America, Central America. Nobody has ever ripped me off. But there, in broad daylight, middle of the day, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody snags my tank bag, my Wolfman tank bag, and my Aerostitch tank panniers. These are cloth soft luggage. I don't keep a lot of valuables in there. Usually it's spare fuel bottles, maybe a tool or two, and just things I think, like a cloth to wipe my things, might wipe my face shield, some sunscreen, and other little things that are not high value for somebody, but yet important for me as far as just keeping this journey going. So there they stole those things, and that bottle of wine I had gotten in Janina that was in the wooden box, kind of nestled in with all those corks, ripped that right off the back seat as well. And I was not on a main drag. I was on a little side road in a neighborhood. And really disappointing, Croatia. I really am pissed at you, and I can't believe it because I had such high expectations that I expected better from you, Croatia. I get that tourism is high. This was in the city of Split, which is the second largest city in Croatia, but ripped off in Croatia. So I almost want to say, fuck you, Croatia. But I've gotten over it. Now just talking about it brings back a little bit of that anger. But really, I've gone beyond that. And so anyway, had a great time. Actually, had my exhaust totally rebuilt. My Super Trap special, aftermarket pipe on the GS Dakar. This guy in a small village north of Zagreb did such a great job, and I'll be posting video of that, and you'll see that. And anyway, did a spectacular road on the north coast. It goes from Karlobag to Seng up to Rijeka, and some of the most beautiful coastline and sweeping turns, just beautiful. From there, I crossed into the border here to Slovenia. But before I came to Slovenia, I came to Slovenia, and then I was out of Slovenia in Italy. So I spent one night in Trieste, because really we are in that Mediterranean climate still up here in northern, rather western Slovenia, and right next to Italy. So that's kind of where I sit right now. And the guy that is the guru here, Aleš Kristancic of Movia, quite a legend. 2 days ago I was here at the winery. We actually went out on. He had his 250 little Honda dirt bike, and I took my 650 heavy loaded the GS, and it's like, let's ride through the vineyards. He's planting a new vineyard there. Well, bringing full circle to here, it was a good idea. I made good rounds in the vineyard, but eventually, with the erosion and the tractor ruts and things like that, Doc got dumped, and there'll be more about that story coming. So yes, we've now had the first drop, the first little accident on the motorcycle. Nothing wrong with me, and a few minor little dings to the bike, but we're still moving. Also, one of the things I did get taken care of here after in Croatia, taking care of the exhaust, of course, which was just starting to be too loud, dogs running as I came through villages. It was just annoying. I needed to have it repacked, and that's why we did that. But the chain and sprockets were starting to look a little bit long in the tooth, if I can use that term. It's tooth, yes. So I took advantage of good, access to BMW parts and a great independent mechanic, and we got that chain and sprockets changed. At that same time, we noticed that the bearings for the swing arm, that main large bolt that connects the swing arm to the main part of the bike, the frame, the bearings are shot, and when there's no wobble, there's no problem with the wheel at this point, but I'm going to need to take care of that in the next 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers, And so that's just on my mind as I'm traveling. So anyway, this is the World Rider Podcast. You know I'm Alan Carl, and I'm glad that you're riding along with me. I'm going to play you a couple clips from some of the audio that I've had in the interviews over the last month, really quick, just to give you a teaser, so you don't have to just always listen to my voice. You'll know that in the future podcasts you'll be hearing some great stuff from the many warm and friendly and very interesting people I've talked to. So I'm going to walk back out to where they're currently fixing the destemming machine, and I'm going to queue up some nice tidbits of audio for you, and then we'll close this podcast for probably almost the shortest podcast in the World Rider podcast history. Thanks for tuning in. Alan Carl, please get over to the blog, worldrider.com/blog, and do it, okay? Check it out, please. Comment as well. And please like this podcast on iTunes.
It's a partner. Started making wine in 1998. Even that I like to say we started in 98 because my grandfather used to make wine until 1950. Then when the communism came, it was expropriated like all the private property during the time in Albania. Of course, during the communism we had vineyard, we had winery, but it was state property, not private property.
Yeah.
And when we used to drink some wine during the time that it was rare, my father, my uncle, they always used to remember his father, how he used to do the wine, where he used to sell, the people he used to share. So was transmitted this kind that they sell, I call it emotional tradition more than technical tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do in Albania something like California does, the ocean of vineyards.
No.
You cannot do it. You'll fail the next day because California deals with this market, is the king of this market. How can I do that?
Some big bureaucratic fat ass to come and tell you what to do. My philosophy is health, because you cannot buy it.
Yeah.
You cannot purchase health.
No.
And you start appreciating it only when you start losing it. The second thing is family happiness, partner, I mean, kids grow and go, but you have to have happiness in the family. And number three is few friends to share. The rest is irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. That's my wiseness from experience and living and doing and seeing. Health, family happiness, and few friends to share good and bad things.
Today's biggest problem in Dubrovnik is lack of workers. We have no workers. So what happened? People who used to come to Dubrovnik from north part of Croatia before, in the summertime, they now go to European Union, because in the meanwhile Croatia became the part of European Union, and it means that all these people from north part of Croatia, they can go all around the Europe, work and live there without any special permission.
World Rider. The podcast edition.
Podcasting. Who would have ever thought?